I'm so glad you're here to ease back, to rest, and to listen. Before we get started, I want to share this with you. Rest is many things. Rest is a portal. Rest is a bridge from where you are to where you want to be. Rest is fuel. Rest is a soft place to land. And most of all, rest is sacred. Rest is refuge. Rest is remembrance. Rest is a revelation. You are sacred. Your rest is sacred. And if you want to infuse more of the sacredness of rest into your day to day life, I have something for you. Check out my latest book, Rest is Sacred, at www.restisacred.com. Okay, enjoy your listen. Welcome to Leaders Devoted to Rest, where we explore how rest is a sacred practice that awakens both possibility and power within you. I'm your guide, Octavia, Faith, and Raheem. In each episode, I chat with a leader whose life has been positively transformed through their devotion to rest. Now, you know we aren't just going to sit up here and talk about rest. We are going to actually lay down. Each episode ends with a rest practice for you to try at home. Rest is fuel, and you are in the right place to fuel up. So grab your favorite pillow, blanket, cozy socks, and journal, and ease on back as we begin another restorative episode. Today, I am chatting with and resting with Dr. Tiffany Johnson James, who is a work, equity, and wellness researcher, writer, and teacher. As an associate professor of organizational behavior at Georgia Tech, she teaches classes to all levels of students, and that includes undergraduates, MBAs, and PhDs. In addition to having been trained by me and Merle Arnett in yoga and meditation, she enjoys experimenting with and honoring the connection between movement and stillness in the everyday. She draws upon these teachings to inform not only her approach to research, teaching, and mentoring within the business school and broader college settings, but also to guide how she consults with organizations and coaches kindred souls in academia. In this episode, we discuss how closing your eyes helps you find your way, or I could say it this way. We discuss how, quite simply, rest works. Thank you for being here. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Let's start by stopping. When I said that, my left shoulder just dropped down.
Mm.
I don't know. What happens for you when you hear the word start by stopping?
My, heart is it kind
Doesn't
of
it just the getting right commences, right?
does. It's like a check, okay.
Especially when you've been in that practice. So we can start by stopping. And your eyes can be open, they can be closed. You do the thing that feels most right and resonant with you because that's the thing that is going to serve you in the moment. I'm going to close my eyes. And starting by stopping is literally what it sounds like. We notice body, and then together we receive and release 3 inhalations and 3 exhalations. And I'll be quiet and we can just notice the breath. And then perhaps with the next exhalation, sigh it forward and out. And then when you're ready, we continue. I find that starting with stopping saves time,
Mhm.
as it is with all the things slow, all the
Mm,
things rest. Um, you don't know that until you really practice it and do it consistently, though.
mhm.
So tell us who you are and where you're arriving from.
Well, my name is, Tiffany Johnson, Tiffany Dawn Johnson. Um, I, am the daughter of Tracy and Dolores Johnson and the granddaughter of, Geneva Love, Ural T. Horton, Otha and Martha Johnson, um, and, the great-granddaughter of many names who I do not know, but who I feel protecting me on a daily basis, especially in this period of time. I live in, Atlanta, Georgia, Southwest Atlanta, SWAT.
Southwest.
Shout out
Hey.
SWAT. Um, yeah, and I feel like today I'm arriving from a place of, clarity. More, I shouldn't say just I feel like clarity is dynamic, so I feel more clarity. I feel like it's kind of in a flow, um, and grace. Yeah.
So arriving from the people,
Mhm.
from a sense of protection from the people
Mm,
you come from,
yeah.
arriving from SWAT, Southwest Atlanta, and arriving somewhere in the continuum of clarity and also with a sense of grace. What is contributing to the clarity and the access to grace? Grace can feel really, both of those things can feel elusive. So,
Mm,
why? What's contributing to your clarity right now?
thank you for asking that because I didn't see this coming. Like, if you would've asked me this last week, I would've been like, "I'm not clear."
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but in, a session recently that we've had with, the group, I heard after the session, pray and write. Pray and write. Like, that was my thing to do, pray and write.
I mean,
And
that is a word for somebody. Like, because when you say it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I detoured a little bit over here to this question. Pray and write is the sacred mandate. Okay.
Yes, pray and write is a sacred mandate, and for me as a person who often has lots of things, I even because rest is a practice and I'm a student, right, of it, I oftentimes will fall off the wagon, quote unquote, if you
Mhm.
will, and my calendar will fill up with like tons of things. And
Mm.
there's this always this questioning of when have I done enough? And when that I love how you call it a sacred mandate. That sacred mandate has helped me kind of understand the boundaries of, like, when I have done enough each
Mm.
day. Ever since I got that. Have I prayed today? Have I written today? I'm good.
Mm. I love that because I had this external orientation, kind of toggling between external and internal orientation of how I'm defining success for a very long time.
Mm,
And then there was this moment where when I have drank,
mhm,
hydrated myself,
mm,
and I have done my rest practice, I'm like,
mhm,
there are other things that will happen and must happen and that I want to happen and that I'm gonna do and create and generate and produce. And my most basic
mhm,
redefinition of like
mhm,
successful and enough has been I have rested and I have cared for myself in a really obvious yet intentional way.
mm,
And something about that, it doesn't mean I don't do anything. I don't strive to do anything. It's just that
mm.
there's a sweetness to being like, for you,
Yeah.
after a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes of just racing and running, your enough is, did I rest today?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
thank you for sharing that.
mm.
And the inquiry is what has rest awakened within you in the last week, month, year. You give the context, and I heard you answer it without me asking a question, and that's why I just went there. How does your rest practice support clarity and access to grace?
Well, lately, it's been because in the rest, I remember that, that this idea of, like, hyper independence and independence is an illusion, and that, like, just like when you were guiding us in the beginning, like, receive a breath, like, just that, like, reminder, and
Mhm.
that I am not the one doing the breathing. I am like that every breath I take is a part of a co-creation. It is a part of a dependence. Um, is that helps that practice has helped me to remember that even when I'm not resting, that there is a dependence that's present. And as I remember that and as I reflect on that, I can reflect on all the ways in which I've been kind of protected even when I wasn't even when I was believing that I was doing everything on my own, even when I am, not even was, still present day, there's moments throughout the day where I still get into when I know I have forgotten some moments throughout the day that I've forgotten that I am dependent on so many other sources and people and
Mm.
elements, and so it helps me to, remember grace because of that. Like, you are not the one doing everything, and you do play a really important part in the doing as well.
Yeah, the both. I hear both and.
Yeah.
Um, the song "Amazing Grace."
Mhm.
There are some words in it that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that word.
Mm,
Yet the sentiment is of I was blind and now I see is really a statement of I did not have clarity,
mhm,
and that grace brought me to a place of clarity. I
mhm.
feel like grace requires some willingness and capacity to surrender.
Oof. Yeah.
And surrenders are hard, challenging, just to like even word or practice. Like, what does it mean? And I
Mhm,
often say surrender is not giving up, it is giving over to,
mhm.
that which can see more is greater than um the individual self.
Mhm,
And you
mhm,
have to have some ounce of surrender um already operating in your system, willingness to surrender to rest, to get yourself to rest. And then I just find the rest practices, be they yoga nidra, restorative yoga, or even, specific meditations
mhm,
to really gently yet fiercely guide us toward like, no, this is how you surrender. That's not yours. You don't got to keep carrying that. That's not yours. Or just to even notice in my physical body when I lay down, I'm like, oh, that's what it feels like just to kind of lean back,
mhm,
you know?
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what are you devoted to doing in this lifetime? And that's a little two prongs question, because I also want to know what are you not devoted to doing, like so, meaning like another way I say that is like what you fitting to not do,
Not
ain't
do.
fitting to do, however you want to phrase that, and because that also supports the what am I committed and devoted to doing.
Mhm,
Um, I feel like culturally there's the conditioning expectation to just keep feeling the plate up.
mm,
And if we just even think about like eating food, if you just kept filling the plate, filling the plate, filling the plate, what happens? What's going to happen to the plate and then to you trying to consume all of that at once? And so this question really comes out of the like awareness of how what you say no to
mm,
really impacts what capacity and space you have to say the most or more profound yeses. So, what are you
mm.
devoted to doing in this lifetime? What are you devoted to not doing?
Not doing. I'm actually in a period right now of my life where I'm kind of like I'm on sabbatical-ish, so I feel like
Okay,
I
sabbatical-ish.
sabbatical-ish? I ain't supposed to say that, I don't
This
think.
needs to be a show.
It it needs to
Maybe
be
it's this show.
right. It's this one. It starts here. Yes. Um, and at this period, I've been kind of reevaluating and just kind of listening into like what is my to do and what is my not to do. But every time I've done like a practice around this, prayer has come up. It always tends to come up when I get really quiet and still. And even like when people come up to me, and I don't know if you would call it prophesy or whatever, they're like, you need to pray. Like
Mm,
you need to stop depending on yourself and acting like there's not like stuff around you and things around you that can help you feel like one of the things I'm here to do is to pray and just pray and listen. And second, to really like model and and write and spread a word around wholeness. I think that's something that I need to learn, and then as I learn it, I'm supposed to express it and share it. Um,
mm.
and so what I'm not here to do then is to
I
uh
just kinda can we back up? Can you say
yeah,
what I'm not here to do? I love to hear us say that, what I'm not here, because it's like a bold declaration. Because the world's gonna try to tell us and continues to be like, "But you are here
that's
too."
real. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a real emphasis on not,
yeah.
like what I'm not here to do, like the I I'm like getting like an attitude with what I'm not here to do is um over time and time again, it's been shown to me I'm not here to fill up my plate like what you were talking about, like to overwork. That is not my ministry. Every time I engage in it, something hits the fan. Like it's not cute and it hurts the value of the work that I want to really show as like having integrity. It hurts me or it hurts others or it hurts something. And so um I'm not here to do that. Um I'm not here to be disconnected um, from, like, friends and family, loved one.
Mm,
Um, and I'm not here to, like, ignore the importance of presence. I feel like I really am here to be, like, super, super, super present human being.
mm. Presence and prayer.
Mhm. Presence and prayer, yes.
Yeah,
Alliteration.
I know, and not here to you're not here to be exhausted.
Mm-mm.
Like, you said something that's pretty powerful, which is, like, exhaustion, quite frankly, it hurts.
Mhm.
Like, that seems so, obvious, yet when you said it, I was like, "Yeah, it just hurts," and what I heard you say is it hurts the quality of your connection with yourself and other people, and it also quite physically and literally, I've said literally like 3 times now. It hurts, and it made me think, because 'cause we're both practicing yogis, of ahimsa,
Mhm.
which is do no harm,
Mm. Mhm.
and working in a way toward burnout and exhaustion is harmful to
Mhm.
ourselves, our relationships, to the planet, because we translate that to, like, wanting everything to just keep yielding when that is not it's just not how the cycle of life works. So
Have you heard oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, we are
I
how it
I
feels
was
like we're kikiing,
I
and I
know.
love it. So thank you, listener.
I was gonna ask you because when you're talking about the plate filling up, I was just talking to one of my nieces last week, and they were telling me about this TikTok trend
Mhm.
where I don't know if you've heard of it, where people, like, fill up like, they have a huge table of food, and they
Mhm.
basically just have a camera on, and they eat. And the goal and I was just and it made me when you said that, it made me think of that, and at the first, of course, I was judging that, but then I was like, "Well, I have done that with, like, all kinds of things." If I show you some days on my calendar, that's what my calendar looks like. Like, I'm trying to literally, like, eat all the things that's possible on the table or what my email inbox looks like, because everything that comes in my inbox, I've said yes to, and then, like, a month or 2 later, I have to, like, be like, "Actually, no."
Mm.
If I
Mhm.
even get to that. But I didn't know if you had heard of that
I
TikTok.
hadn't seen that or heard that. Um, and it makes me think about there's something to be said about like, oh, there's this feast in front of me and I have choice. But
Mhm,
then like what's the mechanism though by which I employ wisdom to go, well, what do I choose from this table versus I'm gonna sit here and force myself to consume it all at once.
mhm,
Yeah. And, proverbially, it might not be that table with all the food on it that we're sitting at and just trying to force feed ourselves. It might be, like you said, the calendar, the email box. I'm curious about what got you here. Like, um, why? Like, I know you're a tenured professor. I know that you um are a prolific writer and thinker. I know that you have experienced burnout, and we probably didn't call it that, right?
mhm. Yep.
How do you go from and like academia is rigorous, right? As an understatement, and also for Black women? Like, how'd you get to this place where you're like, "No, I'm resting. I'm in a practice. I'm not perfect." 'Cause like the thing you said in the beginning is, "I'm a student of this." So, but how'd you get here where this is like acceptable to you to even be not just in contemplation of it? Because I know in your world, people can contemplate and think about things all day. Why do you do rest? Why do you practice rest? How'd you get to that place?
Mhm. I like to say, like, I had hit several kinda like what you said, there were several instances of, now we would probably call it burnout or some kinda somatic symptoms of overworking. Um, like, my hair was falling out, and
Mm.
I was having heart palpitations going to the ER, and they're like, "You're fine." And I'm like, "Well, then why is my heart doing what it's doing?" You know? But they
Mm.
were like, "Well, just" and this was in graduate school, like my first year of graduate school. And like, "Oh, just, stop, just don't be as stressed out." It's like, how do you
How?
how? What do you mean? Like, for an overthinker, now I'm just stressed out about being, like, stressed out, so that didn't necessarily help. But I know I hit, like, that final, like, big wall that kind of changed my trajectory of really dedicating and being devoted to a practice, in 2017, and that was my first year on the tenure track. And, I was here in Atlanta freshly and came upon, Sacred Chill West. So your teachings, like, Meryl's teachings, and then met through you all, like Tracy and Dr. Chelsea and Shanti, and those kind of classes, and there was something in me that was like, "I really need that." Like, this is like I can't keep hitting a wall like this, and I don't know exactly what that was, but it was in that moment. It was when I, like, started to do the practices, and when I came to Sacred Chill West, I honestly wasn't trying to rest that much. I was just trying to to be honest, like, I wasn't. Like, I think I was trying to do practice yoga in a space that felt safe
Mhm,
and with people who I felt like I could really trust.
mhm,
And those people were also saying, here's a yoga, so I was going to the 6 a.m. class a lot,
I remember, yeah.
which was more like power. It was more of a flow and power yoga.
Mhm.
But those you all those folks, they were also saying, like, there are these practices like yin and restorative yoga, and I think I showed up late to my first restorative yoga class, the door was already closed, y'all had already started. I was like, "Damn, play." Imma come back. And and I feel like between, like, yin and flow, like, that was, like, my gateway, like, entry into, like, "Oh," and I remember laying down in yin flow and being like, "This is interesting," like, I feel my body in different ways that
Mm,
I don't remember feeling my body, and I became curious about what might happen if I started to, like, practice this more, what would happen, uh,
mm,
for this, like, wall, this proverbial and actual, like, really felt like a real wall that I had been hitting, and that was the, like, beginning of me really starting a more consistent practice, I would say, of, like, stillness-based practices. And I started noticing shifts in how I showed up at work. Just like started noticing pauses, like in the day or pauses with my students. And um um I started noticing like in meetings, like I would feel the need to say something. And usually there would be a part of me that would be a little fearful to like say that thing in a meeting. But I felt like I had, some like, a practice that was, like, holding me enough to actually speak up in those meetings and, like, say those things, and so I just decided that, like, the stillness and the rest was something that I needed to keep on incorporating because it was helping me show up at work in a way that was more me and more true to what I wanted to like, how I wanted to show up at work, and it was helping me to form, like, relationships outside of work in ways that felt, like, more genuine, authentic, sincere,
mm,
and so, I saw a strong correlation, although, of course, I didn't run that data. I felt there was a strong correlation between, and so have just kinda decided to keep being a student of it.
mm.
That was a lot, I guess, but
No, it was thank you. There it was very rich, and what I heard, which is tender, is like a little bit of a breakdown led you to the space of a breakthrough in your relationship between movement and stillness. And
Mhm.
you named Yin Yoga, which is a yoga practice really rooted in stillness, very deep, stretchy, long hold practices, one of my favorite practices. And what I also heard you say is that as you rested, the question I asked, I'll back up, is like, well, how'd you get here? You followed so a little some breakdown to the breakthrough and curiosity.
Yes.
You got curious, and that is really a place to begin a rest practice because for many of us who it's been work and work and work, and there's no other way, right, that we've considered for an extended period of time, just getting curious about like, well, what can rest do for me? Maybe if I slow, like what about slowing down? Curiosity is a real place to start, is what I'm saying. And then I ultimately heard you say that your rest practice gathered you. I like that word. And it awakened you to courage.
It
But without going, like, too far down, I'm like, "Oh, I hear some regulation started happening," and where
did.
you were in a cycle of kind of fear-based cycle of fight or flight, you could just be like, with some courage, say, "Well, I'm just here. I get to engage and show up as myself like other people at this table," you know?
Mhm.
And so I kinda secretly, not so secretly, wanna go down into, like, well, what really was the mechanism that brought the courage forward? Um, but I
Mhm.
think for now, just saying like you rested, and I also remember you remembered who you are and whose you are, which is where we started.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Because some of what keeps us in the loop of exhaustion beyond we can name, right? There are whole systems, right? Really,
Mhm.
really invested in our exhaustion and investing not in us, but in our exhaustion. So we'd be remiss not to name that and act like it's just an individual, like I
Right.
individually can't figure out how to rest. It's like, well, there's a
Uh-huh.
lot trying to make sure you don't ever get curious about rest.
Mhm.
Um, and you remembered, like rest supports us and remember who we are. And some of the mechanisms working inside of us also is a sense of unworthiness.
Yeah.
And as you rested, it was like, well, that questioning that now too, right? And then when you stop feeling unworthy, you also stop exhausting yourself trying to prove things that have been proven. I was talking to someone yesterday and I was like, I'm really clear that like it's done. I've been paid for, right? Meaning, like, I'm not reproving and I'm not playing that game over and over with people. I'm not proving and proving and proving time and time again, right? So I heard a lot. Thank you for that rich share. I want to invite you to maybe daydream out loud with us and um, look down the road and then kinda turn around. It's the visual I have in my head, meaning
Mm,
you're 85. You're 85. You've traveled down this road called your life, and I don't know, maybe you are sitting on a porch drinking some good coffee. I know that about
yes.
you. And some young folks from
Mm,
somewhere in the line or lineage, they say, like, "What did rest make tell us about your life and what did rest make possible?" Um, and part of this is coming from a lot of times when we talk about legacy, it's like really rooted in work. And what I'm positing in this question is like, yes, yes, we will create and generate and produce and like with our hands, create a legacy and the leaders I'm talking to, that legacy will be fueled by their rest and their wholeness and their care. So, what is rest fueling in your leadership, your lineage, and your legacy? Or if it feels good to just walk backwards from how'd I get to this porch at 85 years old with my coffee in my hand? And what do I know now? Because of my rest practice or as a result of my rest practice.
mm. Um, the word and the feeling that comes to me is love, is love. I feel like if I were talking to, like, somebody who's part of my lineage, like a and who's younger and they asked me that question, I would say love, space and love. Like, rest has fueled space and spaciousness for me to really learn about, like, what it means to be on a journey of self-love, which I feel has is radically reshaping how I understand my life and what it can look like and what it will look like. Um, but what it means to actually love myself, like, not just, like, conceptually, but, like, to love my body
Mm.
throughout all the phases that it has gone through and that it's going through. Um, but also to be in, like, loving, caring relationship with friends, family, partner, and, like, students. Like, I'm thinking about, like, the students that I also work with, like, how to be in loving relationship, which I think is sometimes it's challenging because it requires a certain element of truth telling, as well to myself and to other people. Um, and so but yeah, rest is fueling that.
What is So there's this rest is a place that we can come and remember.
Mhm.
I often say that rest is like not going to ask you to do anything. It will ask you to come lay down, but rest doesn't need you to prove anything. You don't have anything to do. You don't have to earn it according to rest, the practice, right? And there is a portal to memory and remembering. And I am wondering and it restores, meaning I feel like I get access to gone by wisdom, and if we might go there, because here we are, it is the place where I most consistently can really feel the presence of my ancestors,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And and so I'm wondering if there's anything that rest has restored in your lineage or you used the word earlier around like connection, and I'm thinking about a bridge. And
Mhm.
I'm just curious. This wasn't on my questions, but I'm curious what has rest or is it restoring anything um, in your lineage or maybe even, I don't know, your family?
Mhm. Yeah. It's restoring it's I think it's restoring a lot. It's restoring the first word that came to me was, like, liberation, freedom. It's restoring that. Like, what's
Hmm.
a sense of what that feels like, embodied, and, um yeah, embodied liberation.
Embodied liberation. Do you think your rest practice is impacting more than you?
Yes.
How so?
In personal and work. Uh,
Yeah.
in personal and work, um, just because, like, for example, when it comes to work, I've seen like, I just last week, I got a request from somebody via email to do something, and really practicing, like, not saying yes all like, right away, looking at my calendar and being really honest with even if that day is not if there's even if that day has space in the calendar, do I really want and have the energy to do on that day? But I have a Calendly list. I don't have to think about it.
Mhm.
So I sent them I was like, "Here's how I like to do this work. Here and hopefully something can align that, matches our schedules." And it wasn't for like another 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And I felt a little nervous about that because I didn't know if that was too long of a wait time for the person, but they emailed me back and they said, "I really like how you've done this." And, I think those kinds of ways of like modeling, like this is and just being honest about the space, I think it gives permission to other people to start think about how they can do the same, and I've seen that with,
Mm.
like, colleagues who say, like, "The way that you said no in that email, I'm gonna use that as, like, a template because 'cause I've replied all saying no a couple of times. I'm gonna use that as a template, and I do think that it has inspired others just the way in the same way that I've been inspired by others as well to do that at work, but also at home with, like, with family and with friends and with loved ones. Um, the the practice of rest that I sometimes I'm doing consistently and sometimes I'm not. When they see me doing it consistently and making space for it, sometimes they feel they have told me that they have been encouraged to also try and
Yeah.
practice it as well, so
Mm.
or just to have more space if they're not gonna lay down.
That's
They
right.
decide to slow down.
'Cause it's about spaciousness,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Yeah. For having space
mm,
to experience your life, not
mhm.
just work in it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that of modeling, thus normalizing, putting things in its place, meaning this is not urgent. We can do this. This matters. Right, because we conflate, like, mattering with urgency. It's like a kind of weird thing that starts to happen, and it's
Yeah.
like, "I this really does matter to me, and your request really does matter to me, and can we schedule this then?" Right? Just to, like, and I find it refreshing too when I can get in the groove with someone, and it's not like, "Right now, right now, right now," all the thing, like, just responding to everything like it's urgent. Everything can't possibly be urgent.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's real.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, I'd like to rest, if you'd like to rest.
You know I would.
What a question. I know, right? Um, and I do this for my own practice, and when I'm coaching, I always ask some version of what part of you is most in need of rest.
Mhm.
So, what part of you is most in need of rest?
Um, I don't know the word for it, but it's like, uh, giving something up, like asking for help and then taking it back and acting like so maybe hyper independence. Yeah, we'll just do that. Hyper independence. Yeah.
So, you tell me if this resonates. Expanding capacity to receive.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I want to honor the part of you that has survived
Mhm.
because it was holding all the things. Like there's likely some intelligence in it. And so I hear being like that part can rest. And maybe it might be useful to like locate where
Mm.
you feel that in your body, the part that's like, "No, no, no, I have to do all the things. I have to do and I'm alone," right?
Mm.
And just locate that in your body, notice what's there. I find it very helpful to, like, place a hand on my body when I'm kind of locating. Once I locate, like, "Oh, that is where the always strong one lives." It's kinda, like, right below my sternum a little bit that I feel that, like, must be strong at all times. And so you don't have to tell us where you feel that in your body, the must be, I'm independent, I'm alone, can't accept or receive help. It's important to acknowledge it though. Yeah? Does that resonate with you?
100%.
100%. Yes. And so we acknowledge that, and that's where we start. So if you would like to go off camera, you can. If you want to lay down, you can. If you're going to stay at your desk and just put your head down, that's like one of my favorite things to do. But I think it's the really good student in me who's just like, "Ooh, put my head on my desk." So
Rebellion.
whatever's gonna support you, you could do that. And as you're shifting and moving, I'm gonna invite you, if it feels right and supportive, to be aware of where you feel the really hyper independent part of you within. And to place a hand, if it's accessible, and again, only if it feels right, on your body where you feel the activation of, or if there's any activation of, gotta do all the things by myself. And notice body, notice breath, and if it feels authentic to say to the hyper independent part. I see you. You say, I see you. And then if it feels genuine to say, thank you for all that you have done for me, then you say it. And then just as tender as you might say to a little one, you can ask, would you like to rest? And then you might say, you can rest. And then the next statement might be, I give you permission to rest. And you just notice what happens. So you might technically still be kind of setting up if you decided to lay down or getting situated in your chair. But as you do that, can you maintain some awareness of like where you really experiencing your body, the hyper independent? And then noticing breath, noticing body, and then breath by breath, we're just granting permission to rest while also affirming the wisdom and intelligence even of some of these habits that we get to a new place in life and we're like, well, that's actually exhausting, but it served at some point. Yeah. Okay. So notice the support beneath the body and notice the support beneath that. And can you get physically 1% more comfortable? And then we'll begin to notice the breath again. Bring presence and awareness to the breath. And the invitation here is to focus very softly on the inhalation, on the inward flow, on the receiving. And you do that for just two more breaths. Focus on the inhalation and then still maintaining awareness of the breath. Bring awareness to the exhalation. And we'll focus on the exhalation for triple time, right? For now, meaning about 9 exhales we'll focus on. And without getting into naming anything in particular, just sense, feel, know, and trust the exhalation is a divine opportunity to release. And that release can be 1% at a time. We're just making space. And so you might be focusing on the exhalation 3 to 5 more times. And then with the next exhalation, feel, sense, no trust. A bigger release occurs. And then bring awareness back to the inhale. And if it resonates with you on the inhale, you say to yourself, I am held. I am held. Every inhale, I am held. And allow the exhalation to occur just as it does. I am held. I am held. Do that 5 or so more times on the inhale. And then you let the words go. You soften awareness, and we'll just be quiet here for about 30 more seconds. And then you just notice the support beneath you. You notice your body. And now for the next 3 breaths, you notice both the inhale and the exhale. And when you're ready, you can start to bring movement back into your body by wiggling your fingers or your toes or just moving your head from left to right. You check in with the place, the part that has been very, you said hyper independent, so I'll use your words. You notice what you notice. And again, if it feels resonant, to say thank you and to say you really do have permission to rest, then you do. When you're ready, you come back. You can journal, you can free write, you can just sit. But you take your time. So welcome back.
Thank you.
How was that for you?
Right on time. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah, so some honoring of there's some exhausting ways we have, and there's for me, I find it just like hold it tenderly. It's almost like being like, I know, I know, I know, I know how we got like this. I know.
Mm,
Um, and also being intentional with and we're gonna lay down together. Right? Yeah. And now you use the language of wholeness, like that is your word.
mhm,
Um, and so the invitation is to accept with a capital A,
mhm,
all the parts, all the fragments,
mhm,
and then to inside the space of your embodied leadership to say, and we get to lay down, y'all. We get to rest. So you said you were arriving with more clarity and grace.
mhm.
How are you leaving?
Mm. I'm leaving with more clarity and
I mean,
with more. I know, seriously. I think,
okay.
that practice was really helpful, and because I laid down for it, and was able to actually feel, like, where in my body, holding on to the hyperindependence, I feel, more grounded as well.
Mm. So when hyperindependence is oriented toward rest, it becomes a portal to grounding in support, safety, and your own power,
Yeah.
right? It's like the flip side to that. So thank you for that, Dr. Tiffany Dawn Johnson. Tell us where we can find you
Oh.
and
Yes.
how we can learn more about your leadership and your work
Okay,
in the world.
you can find me on my website, www.tiffanydawnjohnson.com. And mostly the social media platform that I'm on the most at this point in my life is Instagram. And my handle there is at TikiDawn11. My grandparents called me that. So it's like
Your grandparents. I love that.
yeah,
Granny and them called me Tiki, and so that is what I.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been. I'm like we have kikied. I feel like I'm gonna listen back and be like we were laughing a lot. And cheers to liberation. Right.
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 Mhm.
We get to do it this way too.
Yeah,
So thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Tiffany.
thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. And you are still here. I hope that means that you enjoy the episode. Before moving on to the next thing, I have an invitation for you. If you can, pause and notice your breath. Notice your inhale and notice your exhale. As you reflect on this episode, what did you hear that was interesting or inspiring? What did you learn? What did this episode wake up within you? What did this episode allow to rest within you? Thank you again so much for being here. You are sacred. Your rest is sacred. And you being here and you staying here affirm that you can be devoted to rest. that you can be a leader and devoted to rest. Until next time.